from being the third highest scorer in the league to being the absolute scum of the earth off-court, Karl Malone's past is out for the world to see, and it's all thanks to the All-Star Weekend. His appearance at the event sparked some pretty fierce backlash, and even the NBA wasn't spared in its decision to honor such a person. On February 18th of this year, he wasn't just invited to the All-Star event, he was a judge during a slam dunk contest, and then he and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar honored LeBron James for being the highest scorer. In other words, his face was plastered along with two other legends. It all sounds pretty good, right? Like he's just a good player participating in All-Star festivities in his former team's home city. And I can bet my left lung that this is the narrative that the NBA was banking on, because just inviting him overlooks a past full of crap. Let me give you a glimpse into his past, and you can decide for yourself if the backlash is worth it. A few decades ago, Malone was playing basketball at Louisiana Tech University, and instead of keeping his eye on the ball, he had it on a woman instead. Oh, sorry, did I say woman? I mean girls, young girls. Malone was involved with his girlfriend, Gloria Bell, who was just 13 years old at the time. Being with a minor seemed to be his pastime, because in 1983, when the all-time star was 20, he impregnated Gloria, a minor. In Louisiana, this crime would land him straight to prison for a good while, and the laws were all against him too. But Gloria's parents had decided against pressing statutory offense charges, all because of his impending NBA fortune. They basically saved his career by considering him a neighborhood kid. And how did he repay them? By denying the paternity of his child, Demetress Bell. The audacity is truly shocking. So the child's grandparents filed a lawsuit against him a couple of years later. All they requested was $200 a week to help raise Demetress, and he didn't even do so much as respond, despite his career earnings being as high as $104 million. He was told to give at least $125 per week in child support, but he appealed. Honestly, why get with a minor and impregnate them if you can't cough up a couple of $100? His past just gets worse the more one finds out about it. Eventually, they settled out of court, which didn't require him to acknowledge that he was the father. Oh, and that paternity test, it showed a 99.3% probability of Malone being the father. There was never any shred of doubt that it wasn't him, but it's been decades, and he hasn't so much as acknowledged Gloria or Demetress. I guess doing so would force him to admit to his pedophilia and neglect. Demetress went on to be drafted by the Buffalo Bills in 2008. He then played in the NFL until 2013. When he contacted his estranged father, Malone told him that he'd have to make it on his own and that it was too late for him to be a dad. His son was only 17 at the time of this interaction. Malone finally started building a relationship with him in 2014 when Bell had already turned 30. That's 30 years of neglect and silence. These aren't just horrifying actions. He committed a grave crime and got away with it. The only reason the public knows of his past is purely because of the lawsuit. I can't imagine how many other minors he's been with since then. But his history of neglect doesn't stop here. Malone dated a woman when he was in high school. Benita Ford had also filed a paternity lawsuit against Malone in 1989, and she was there for the twins, Daryl and Cheryl, who were 8 years old at the time. Malone was found in contempt of court because, for 3 years, he refused to submit DNA blood tests. This case, as with Gloria's, was resolved and settled out of court. My theory is that it was to avoid acknowledgement, child support, and public charges. The forward player remained absent in their lives for years, before reaching out to them when they were 17. Both of them went on to play at Louisiana Tech, and Cheryl even became a 3-time WNBA champion and a 4-time WNBA All-Star. Malone later reflected on this, saying that he didn't handle it right and the responsibilities felt overwhelming. Bear in mind, this is just for the twins. He never spoke about Demetress despite the paternity being confirmed in court, but he did say something after the fierce backlash after the All-Star event. The legendary player remains off social media and the screens in general, so after years, he finally broke the silence on his crimes. But it was underwhelming, to say the least. When talking about his reputation as of recently, he said that as players, they're aware of everything that's written or said about them. Naturally, if one was innocent, they'd want to clear up their name, because this blurs his impressive list of accomplishments. Regardless, he doesn't seem fazed by the negative perception of him, or by the severity of his past actions. He said that he's not discussing any of it and doesn't care. It's his personal life, and he'll deal with it like he deals with everything, and that he's human. Mistakes and flaws make up a human, yes, but crimes and behavior that's almost devoid of any humanity isn't called being human. Although he was an amazing player, his scummy behavior followed him on court too. As Bomani Jones said, Malone was a dirty player elbowing his opponents to win. One of his hits even caused Isaiah Thomas to get 40 stitches. At this point, he shouldn't be honored for being a scorer by spilling blood. It's a sport. It's not supposed to be this serious. He was also the most outspoken person against Magic Johnson after he was diagnosed with HIV. He did an interview stating that if he got the disease, it'd affect his abilities. Even then, he said people should respect his decision. It's high time this guy was canceled for his problematic behavior. Not only does he hit on minors, he hits on married women too. Do you know that Kobe Bryant had a long-standing beef with Malone? Both the players were friendly and often hung out together with their wives. In 2004, it was reported that he made several inappropriate comments to Bryant's wife, Vanessa. The late star felt hurt and betrayed, obviously, and instead of apologizing and feeling humiliated, Malone continued with his habit of ignoring his abhorrent behavior and pretending like nothing was his fault. At the time, he'd responded that he wants no part in Bryant's soap opera. While Kobe had said that no man would be okay with what Malone had done, Malone's agent said that he was hurting for little Mexican girls because of his cowboy outfit. Now that's a bold statement for someone who's a pedophile, and for those who don't get it, Vanessa is Mexican. Another time, Vanessa took his number from his wife, Kay, to invite their son to her seating area during a Lakers game, and Malone asked her to come sit next to him, give him a big hug, and that doing so will put them on the cover of every magazine in the country. What a shameful man. The conversation between them was disgusting and shows that Malone is still a scum. For the NBA to allow him on stage is horrendous, and it's good that the public is aware of who he really is. That's all for me on Karl Malone's All-Star Weekend appearance, sparking a fierce backlash.